Hey guys, Umberto here from Umaxfitness. If you want to increase your squat and deadlift numbers, there is one weapon I strongly suggest you to add to your arsenal: the hip thrust. If Dwayne Johnson and the Big Z are doing hip thrust, there must be a reason, and you could get the same benefits too. The hip thrust is an exercise designed to work directly on your glutes. You can gain more size or strength, it depends on how you program it. Some of you might have heard about the recent studies being done on those two groups of women where one group was actually doing only squats and the other group was doing a hip thrust, and see which one has grown the glutes more. And the squat has actually won this challenge. So the squat has developed the glutes more than a hip thrust does. So what's the point of doing it? Well, the hip thrust is supposed to be taken as a complementary exercise for squats and deadlift. Despite many considering this exercise a compound movement, it is in reality an isolation exercise that is strictly focused on improving your lower body strength and power, which will serve you building all your other compound lifts. The shorter range of motion will allow you to do many more focused reps at a heavier weight. At some point I could do the hip thrust almost at the same weight I will use on a heavy deadlift day. And at the time I was doing that, both my squat and deadlift have increased. Also, my lower back at the time was feeling extremely strong, better than ever, and I had no pain at all. Another not so popular benefit of the hip thrust is the ability to improve overall athletic performance, including jumping and sprinting. That's because strong glutes help you accelerate, decelerate, change direction, and create explosive power when jumping. Think about it. Almost every movement requires your glutes to some extent, from bending down to climbing stairs. Now that we know the benefit, let's have a look at a few points I want you to focus on when doing the hip thrust. When positioning yourself, I want you to have a look at three main things: your feet, your back, and the benches and plates if you need to. So let's start from your feet. When you place your feet, you want it to be between your hips width and your shoulder width. So you don't want to position your feet over your shoulder width, no less than your hips width. You should also consider how far back or forward you want to keep your feet to have the right amount of pressure. We're going to have a look into that a little bit later. For the hip thrust, you need to have your back on a bench on some sort of support. The edge of the bench needs to be right behind your rhomboids, or more or less where your scapula is. If you're using a hip thrust bench or support, those are specifically designed to be working without any other sort of support for your plates. If you don't have those and you want to use a bench, you might require to have a couple of plates to raise the weight up so you can slide in and lift it off the floor. For the hip thrust, you will need to keep your eyes more or less at 45 degrees. Once you focus on those points, you're gonna have to move your trunk with your hips and not try to overarch your lower back during the exercise. In that way, the back will be locked in position and you're gonna generate most of the strength from your hips and from your glutes. Talking about glutes, we need to remember that most of the time those muscles will not be turned on by just performing the exercise. In order for you to make this exercise work, you will need to keep them squeezed, especially on both ways. You don't want to just squeeze your glutes as you're thrusting towards the ceiling, but you want to keep them on also on the way down so you can slow down the movement and control the weights. Now let's have a look at some possible problems you might be facing. If you feel your quads doing most of the work, you're possibly having most of the pressure on your toes. Either your feet are too far back or you are lifting your heels. It could be one of the two. To fix it, place your feet down, feel pressure on your heels, and you might need to move also your feet forward a bit. If you still feel your quads, lift your toes off the floor. If you feel your hamstrings and glutes way too much, you're possibly too far away from the center of gravity, so you're putting too much pressure on your heels. To fix it, just bring your legs back. The idea is to have your knees at 90 degrees when you get right at the top. If you feel neck pain, you're possibly not looking at 45 degrees and you keep moving your head back. To fix it, you just need to keep your head in position and not moving it while you perform the exercise. And guys, don't matter the weight, I strongly suggest you to use a barbell pad. It's gonna hurt no matter the weight. Now it's time for you to add the hip thrust to your current program. And keep it for some time and see if it makes any difference to your squats and deadlift. And if you think that your squat is not quite there yet, I'm gonna leave here a link for our squat playlist that you can have a look and get some tips and advice to improve your own squat. Guys, I hope you found this video valuable. Don't forget to give it a thumb up and share it, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so you will never miss any of our content. Keep crushing those weights, I will see you on the next one. Ciao!